This is a habit you want to adopt into your life like now. And this isn't some rah-rah toxic positivity episode. This is life work that can transform your entire outlook and perspective and reality of life if you do the work. And that habit is happiness. Join me in the conversation about how happiness is truly a choice you make in life, independent of any and all outside factors, because you guessed it, on this podcast, we talk about how it all starts within. Let's chat about 6 tangible ways you can start today to swing that pendulum from habitual negativity consuming your life to starting a habit of choosing happiness. Hey mama, welcome to the Balanced Mom Method podcast. I know you're here because you're tired of living day after day like you're drowning in the responsibilities of motherhood. You're done struggling with trying to find the time and energy to get it all done every day, and you want to show your little ones a good example, but you're so exhausted, which has your negative self-talk on repeat, patience spread thin, and you feel like you're losing yourself a little more every day. Plus, the mom guilt, comparison game, and unpredictability of motherhood just does not help in trying to make a change. Well, sweet friend, this podcast will give you a simple and sustainable approach to break free from that survival mode cycle, all by identifying and possibly simplifying your habits. Hey, I'm Jenna, and I've been where you are. I was consumed in the struggles of motherhood, and I needed to make a change to take back control of my time, energy, identity, and life, mostly just to feel like myself again. And in finding that freedom, it became my mission to help make that connection with moms that we can give our children and families the best and not at the expense of our own health, self, and well-being. Moms shouldn't have to choose between their family's priorities and themselves. We can balance it all, and it all starts within ourselves. Let me take your hand to make that connection with you and equip you with simple, lifelong habits. If you are ready to say goodbye to just surviving and finally reclaim your life in motherhood, then you're in the right place. Let's get to the root of cultivating real change because it's time to feel like you again. Warm up that cold coffee, pop in your earbuds, and tighten that top knot. Let's overcome together. Before we dive into the meat of this episode, I want to start off with some love from you. I truly get so lit up, and I'm so thankful when you leave a review for the Balanced Mom Method podcast because that shows me that this show is making a ripple. And we need a tidal wave in motherhood sometimes, am I right? To feel heard? So Katie Nikki 816 writes, a must listen. Jenna feels like a longtime friend. She beautifully speaks to the struggles of motherhood that we often leave unspoken. I finished each episode feeling refreshed, inspired, and ready to implement internal and external habits into my life so that I can continue to be the best wife, the best mom, and the best me that I can be. Wow. Thank you, Katie Nikki 816. It means the world. And I really am so thankful that those words and this show, it can bring an impact like that to your life. So if you want me to read your review live on the air, you can head over to Apple Podcasts and leave a written review for the show, and that is the number one way you can thank me and show support to other moms because hopefully it can find its way into their world. I am so excited that you're here, and I love reading about how you are on your way to your breakthrough. Now let's dig into this episode. Remember that pact that we made last week to choose happiness this holiday season? Did you think to yourself, well, how am I supposed to do that? So let's begin this episode like this because just of that time of year that we're in, the holiday season. But this habit of choosing happiness, it's important for every time of year, every season, every moment, okay? But let's begin here. This visualization exercise. Think back to your younger self. Did you grow up circling your favorite toys in this big, thick catalog, maybe from JCPenney or Sears, that magically got sent to Santa Claus every year? I waited for that one book to come in the mail every year, and I flipped through every single page. And I could just think back to that joy and excitement and happiness that I had going through that book every year. And now every store sends them to you like, whoa, how times have changed. Everything's digital now. It's crazy. So think back to your younger self, and did you go through that big book of toys and just of the light that was brought to your life? And something, regardless that, we get that from all the stores now, something that I strive to never have change is doing those things that make me happy, that bring happiness to my life. Finding my happiness and fighting for it. And then with all my heart and being, giving myself to choosing it every single day? What if we kept it that simple? Creating a habit of choosing happiness every single day. Because gosh, life is so hard. It's hard with all the noise and appointments and schedules and chores and little ones and significant others possibly preying on our attention and our energy all the time. And you just want that moment to be with your thoughts and not be overstimulated and just all that stuff. So much is working against us staying connected to ourselves that it's hard to sometimes keep it that simple to live a good life. I know. But a little tough love here. Happiness starts on the inside with you. Happiness is a choice. Living a positive life is a choice. And it doesn't come easy. Heck no, it does not just magically come to your life every single day. You have to work for it. This is life work. And I hope that this podcast and the Balanced Mom Method online course and other products help show you and learn the how. You have to stop looking for the outside circumstances to be that reason why you're happy. You have to assume an energy that is joyful without having it all right in front of you all the time. Because life doesn't always feel good. Life isn't always going to be rainbows and unicorns. We know that. Life throws curveballs and hardships and low times too. But those times, those things, the significant other, the money, the job, insert those things, they cannot be your source of happiness. Those are the after effects of happiness. So we have to take that step back and again, get to that root. Start within, get to that root of how we can choose happiness. Because if your environment or the season dictates your mood, then your life is always going to be that constant roller coaster. Do you feel that right now? Like, do you feel that your life is this constant roller coaster of your mood and just not being stable, living in that survival mode cycle? Roller coasters may be a fun ride, but I would rather have the stability and sustainability of a joyful life, regardless of how those outside effects might be. I might be stressed or I might be a little more overwhelmed and going through a hard time, but I still have that stability within of having that concrete happiness within my life. So how can you be happy if you continue to make yourself unhappy by allowing outside factors to choose for you, right? Ask yourself that question, because I know it's a constant cycle. We have ebbs and flows of life, of tough seasons, of harder times. But think about it like this. If you want to do X, but constantly find the excuse of Y and put off X, but then you feel like Z and say, once again, you're going to do X because feeling like Z stinks, and then another Y, aka maybe an excuse, comes along. That XYZ loop sounds so simple, like, I could just change it up. But it's so easy to stay captivated down that spiral. So it's time to get off that roller coaster. We have to forget about the XYZ, forget about Sally down the street, Ingrid on Instagram, and all those outside factors and stressors and other negative energy pulling you down. Think about you. Are you constantly telling yourself negative comments? Putting yourself down before you even finish a thought? Giving into whatever comparison your mind is trying to trick you into with what you're seeing online? Are you constantly allowing your mood to be triggered by outside factors? The media, your career, relationships, the clutter of your home. Are you constantly watering that seed of negativity into your life that is overpowering those positives and happiness? Because that was me. I was struggling in every area of my life, mentally, physically, financially. I thought that was just how it was supposed to be. But I found myself constantly asking, is this really it? I remember, oh my gosh, those thoughts in my mind, is this really it? Because from what society conditioned me to believe was, yeah, it was. But I wasn't buying it. There was something, that pull, that let it be my soul, the Holy Spirit, whatever you believe in, like something inside of me just was not buying it. And in realizing that my reality is stemmed from my thoughts, which were all negative, the majority of them, I needed to start from the inside out, and I had to start with me. I had to take those baby steps every single day, and I started to focus on the good. I started to focus on all I had and all I was, and I had to start watering that seed of positivity, that seed of gratitude, that seed of happiness. because we are what we think. And our positive thoughts or negative thoughts, just like anything in life, they can become a habit. So start watering that seed of happiness, because you have the ability to transform your life, yourself, in every moment. Because your life starts with what you make it. And if you don't like something, you have the power to change it. So here are 6 tangible things you could start today to swing that pendulum from habitual negativity consuming your life to starting a habit of choosing happiness. Do all of these things with intentionality, because they are so simple. But that's why we usually put them on the back burner, because it's simple things, but they're not always easy to do. So number 1 is be intentional with learning and then focusing on your mindset loop. Is your mindset loop habitually a positive loop already? Awesome. Or does it lean more towards that negative side? Because your beliefs govern your thoughts. Your thoughts guide those actions. Your actions produce your experiences, and your experiences reinforce those beliefs. So think about that mindset loop, because that right there, your mindset loop, that's how habits are formed. Go back to episode 3 for a good refresher on your mindset loop and starting within, if you're not quite sure kind of where that pendulum is swinging more so. Number 2 is smile. I said these were simple, but how contagious is a smile? If someone smiles at you, even if you break that eye contact because you're nervous or anxious or whatever it might be, you smile. Maybe like under your breath, or, if you're looking at the ground or whatever, you still smile. It's contagious. How simple of a habit to get into is smiling every single day, even over those little things. Just look at your kids, right? A smile is going to come on your face. Look at your spouse. Look at the life that you have, that you're given, and start to smile a little bit more. Number 3 is gratitude. Happiness comes when we stop complaining about those stressors that we have and offer thanks for all the stressors that we don't have. Expressing gratitude is such a positive exercise to help boost your mood and focus on the positive and all the good that you have in your life. Remember earlier in this episode, I said that all those outside factors are the effects of being happy. So by focusing on all that you have now, all that you're grateful for now, we'll begin to stop looking for those outside circumstances to make us happy. So right now, pause this episode and jot down 5 things that you are grateful for. It's such an easy, simple practice. Get in the habit of implementing that every single day. Write down 5 things that you're grateful for every single day, because that's going to start to swing that mindset loop, that pendulum of your habitual mindset loop towards the positive, because you're going to be focusing on the good and leaning towards happiness. Number 4 is do what you say you're going to do. Tough love here. But if you want to alleviate the guilt and not so good feelings that stem from, for example, excuses or bad habits that you want to break, but you just aren't, start doing what you say you're going to do or what you want to do. Think of yourself. Think of that woman, that mother that you aspire to be. Write it down. Think about her. What does she do? What are her habits? How does she feel on a daily basis? Write those down. Really think about that woman, that mom that you want to be, and then walk it out. Start doing it. Just start acting a little bit like her every single day, because again, these things, it's so simple, but it's that negativity, the limiting beliefs of, oh, I can't do that, or I can't transform that habit, or that's just not my lifestyle. That's not me. That's what we have to rework, because if you just start the simple habit of doing what you say you're going to do, it's going to start to alleviate those negative feelings and emotions, because hello, number 1, you're being truthful and trusting yourself. And 2, you're starting to act like the woman that you want to be. And you will be so surprised that you will start becoming her. Number 5, take responsibility for your life today. A little more tough love and piggybacking off the above, but also not relying on those outside circumstances. Let go of any form of attachment that makes you feel that you are not responsible for your life. Let go of that, because you are. And once you take those reins, the excuses, the justifications, and those walls that you might have built up, they'll start to come down. And little by little, by taking the responsibility for your life, you'll start to believe that you could change it, that you can change it for the better. And that responsibility will turn into more belief, because you know that you have the power to take back control. And number 6, choose the next best thing that will bring you happiness. Your next best thought, your next best choice or action that will bring you closer to happiness. Because again, life isn't always feel good. Life is going to throw you curveballs and hardships and low times. But being intentional with implementing this simple practice into your life, it's going to help create that habit of leaning more towards that positive mindset loop and overall happiness. Because not every day is going to be happy. And again, this isn't some rah-rah toxic positivity, choose happiness. This is life work. And I hope that those 6 tips will show you how you can transform your outlook, your perspective that will ultimately transform your reality. Because by choosing again, by choosing that next best thought, that next best choice, choosing the next best thing that can put a smile onto your face or a happy thought into your mind, that is the work. That is the life work that will make those transformative changes. I want to finish this episode visualizing again, going back to your younger self one more time. If you could go back in time and tell yourself something you know now, what would it be? And it might not be something that you could pause right now and write it down. So maybe circle back here, bookmark this episode, make a note in your calendar, your planner, whatever it might be. But I want you to do this practice. If you could go back in time and tell yourself something you know now, what would it be? Of course, I'm going to share what I would tell myself. I had some time to think about it. So I would tell myself everything in this episode. This truly, that's kind of how I came up with this episode, was thinking those thoughts. So now, I don't care how old you are, you're not your younger self anymore, but you could always start again. Every single day, every single moment is a new opportunity. So telling myself everything in this episode, but in a single sentence, to choose happiness above all. In all my actions, in my choices, in my thoughts, to choose happiness. Because by doing that, I know for certain I would have a good life because it's contagious. It'll trickle into every other area of my life, including those outside factors and circumstances, to maybe set a stamp on impacting more happiness in others' lives in the world. And on the inside, I would always keep a good perspective on things. I would always be kind and considerate and leading with love to be able to give that butterfly effect, or ripple effect, maybe the better word, to set that example and again, make that impact, set that stamp. So whenever I find myself sweating the small stuff, or I'm in a hard, overwhelming, anxious, stressful place, to choose whatever will bring me closer to feeling happiness. Anything that will put a smile on my face in that moment. For as cliche as that sounds, when has there ever been a time where simple, pure happiness did not outweigh all the other noise in your life? If you're happy, you figure it out. You're more solution oriented. You're more positive. You think towards, the optimistic side versus that woe's me, pessimist, negative energy. So by being intentional with those 6 things, they really all combine together into happiness. Again, those 6 things being keeping that mindset loop on that pendulum of positive, smile, being grateful, doing what you say you're going to do, taking responsibility for your life, and choosing that next best thing that will bring you happiness. That's what I would tell myself. What's the one thing that you would tell your former self? Take that time to really think about it, process it, and then walk it out, starting now, okay? So if this episode is leaving you feeling jazzed up and wanting to do something about it, please, I would appreciate sharing this episode to your stories and tagging me at Naturally Empowered Living over on Instagram. But I get it, if social media is not your thing, right there with you, sister. I would be so appreciative if you left the Balanced Mom Method podcast a written review. That, again, is the number one way to thank me and show me that you're really enjoying listening to this show, and possibly it's helping you in some way, because 1, let me know how it's helping you in that review. But it means that hopefully this show will be put in front of more moms alike who need to hear the light of the Balanced Mom Method podcast. Because a simple task like that, leaving that review, it can start a ripple effect for another mom who might be struggling and is silently looking for help or that next step to take. So I am so thankful that you are here. Now let's get other moms here to take back control of their lives. Thank you for your help in helping other moms. We are always in this together. And again, until next week, As always, simply be you. You have everything inside of you to reach your breakthrough, Mama. I'm sending my love and light.
Did you find this episode relatable or for farming? Please leave Mama a review.
Thank you so much for spending this time with me on the Balanced Mom Method podcast. I pray this episode has grown and helped you in some way. If it has, I'd be so grateful if you left a review sharing how it's impacted you. It truly lights me up hearing you're on your way to your breakthrough. And then, please share this episode with another mom who may be struggling to remind her we are never alone. And remember, there isn't ever a one-size-fits-all to overcoming our personal hardships, but there are a lot of parallels with how we show up to our lives and common habits we can make our own to live an intentional life full of peace, presence, confidence, clarity, and balance. Be sure to check the show notes for additional ways to connect with me, our mom community, and resources and courses for you to overcome your survival mode cycle once and for all with doable habits. Thank you. I appreciate all you are and all you do. Sending my love and light.